Today is April the 5th, 2016. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University, and today I am in Alva, Oklahoma, Woods County, to interview Bill Buckles, and this is part of our Cowboy and Amber County project, so thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Glad to have you.
Let's begin with learning a little bit about you, starting with when and where you were born.
I was born on June the 1st, 1941, in Shattuck, Oklahoma, at Newman Memorial Hospital. My grandparents and mother were good friends of the Newman family. Dr. Newman was the only doctor capable of delivering a baby at the time, in my mother's opinion. And both my brother and I were born there. Later on, because my dad had been a school teacher, coach, principal, he retired from that and was a full-time farmer and moved to Tacoma, where I was raised.
So how many brothers and sisters?
I have one brother who's deceased.
Older, younger?
He's 2 years older.
So where did you go to elementary school?
Went to elementary school at Tacoma, graduated from Tacoma High School, which is no longer in existence. As a matter of fact, the last graduating class in Tacoma, I believe, was 1968. And we had our recent reunion of the Tacoma alumna. And I think 2 years from now, the next alumna will be the last one that we have.
That's kind of sad, isn't it?
Yes, too many people are deceased.
Sure. So what year did you graduate?
1959.
Okay. And did you have a favorite subject?
Math.
Okay.
My dad taught math. In fact, before I went to Stillwater, he tutored me because we didn't have good math teachers in our high school. We had good FFA programs, we had good sports teams, but we didn't have much educational opportunity.
How big of a school? Like how many were in your class?
We had the largest graduating class, to my knowledge, that had graduated there, and there were 22 in the class.
A few. Were you involved with extracurricular activities like sports or what?
Yes, most of our time was spent playing basketball, baseball, going to FFA trips, judging teams, anything outside of the regular school curriculum. And it was good in that we met a lot of people on these trips and networked with a lot of young people who I knew in college later on.
Were you a member of FFA?
Yes.
So you had farm somewhere in your family?
Yes, we were farmers, and that's all I ever wanted to do was be a farmer. And even when I went to OSU and started in engineering, I really wanted to come home and farm full time.
So he taught school plus farmed on the
Dad taught school and farmed, and later was a principal at Gate, Oklahoma, and then he coached and taught and was superintendent at Tacoma.
So he would have had tractors, not horses or plows.
When my father was younger, they farmed with horses and mules. In fact, my grandfather, James Buckles, and I've got some stories here about him, he sold horses and mules, and they trained them from young animals. So my dad never cared for horses or mules after that.
Too much work.
Yes, and they were hard to manage.
Well, what did he farm?
They farmed wheat. They raised mainly wheat, and then of course they raised oats for the animals, and they had grassland and raised beef cattle.
What were some of your chores?
The earliest chores I can recall were helping feed the chickens, of course cleaning the brooder house and the chicken house, especially as punishment for something I shouldn't have done. Pulling weeds. As I got a little older, we started driving tractors when we were 12, and from then on we were kept very busy. In the summer, Dad liked athletics, being a coach, and he played sports in high school, and at Northwestern he played football. So he liked sports, and he wanted us to be athletes. My brother and I were not outstanding athletes, although we did play ball. And Dad was a very intelligent person, and he knew that I wasn't getting the proper background to go to OSU and start out in engineering, and he tutored me for about 2 years with his own math books.
Where had he gotten his degree?
He got his bachelor's and master's from Northwestern in Alva.
Okay. So home is here.
Yes, and my brother also got a bachelor's and a master's through Northwestern, although some of his administrative education was at OSU.
Okay. Well, where did your father meet your mother?
Dad was teaching school in Arnett, Oklahoma in Ellis County. And they had gone to a party, and my mother was with somebody else, and Dad was with the local banker's daughter. And they got acquainted and decided that they had some things in common and started dating, and the rest is history.
Did she go to college?
Yes, she was older than my father. And at the time, Ellis County had no high school, so her parents sent her to Winfield, Kansas. Mm-hmm. And she attended high school and college in Winfield.
Why Winfield, do you?
It's a Methodist college, and my mother was raised as a Methodist.
But
also, my grandmother Richards came from Winfield.
Okay. Connections.
Yeah, yeah.
What was your mother's name?
Lois Buckles. It was Lois Richards, and my grandparents were Otis Richards and Belle Carper Richards. That's my mother's folks.
And were they from Oklahoma?
Originally they were from Kansas.
Okay, came.
Yeah, and also the Buckles side came from Kansas. Both of them made the run. Granddad Richards made the run into the unassigned lands in 1889 and was in Guthrie. He was a very young man. He got sick and had to go back home, and he sold his homestead. Then in 1893 he made the run into Ellis County, and he settled there on the banks of the South Canadian River. Granddad Richards made the run from Kansas and settled in Alfalfa County at a little community called Ashley.
That was Buckles.
I'm sorry, Granddad Buckles. And also his wife had a homestead close to his. He bought a relinquishment. He and my grandmother bought a relinquishment, and that's where they made their home. But she homesteaded, her mother homesteaded, and her brothers homesteaded in the same area in 1893.
Farmers.
Farmers, homesteaders. My grandfather Buckles was from a family of teachers too, and my grandmother taught. I don't know what their education was, but I could probably find it in some of the family lore.
They probably taught in one-room schools.
Yes, oh yes, and as we speak, we're trying to restore the Short Springs Schoolhouse where my father attended out in the Ashley area.
So is that community still in existence?
The only thing out in Ashley is an elevator, no other buildings, and then the little schoolhouse, and it's one of the maybe two of those old single-room schoolhouse still in existence in Oklahoma.
We definitely need to.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it.
Cool, that's neat.
Yeah, it's my grandparents, parents, and brother are all buried in the Ashley community at the Short Springs Cemetery, which is probably a mile and a half where my dad was raised. And Billy and I own a quarter of land in the same section where the Ashley Schoolhouse is, or the Short Springs Schoolhouse is.
Roots are pretty strong.
Yes, they are.
Well, you mentioned you learned to drive a tractor when you were 12.
Yes.
Did you go on the harvest crew or whatever
We
they used to call us?
No, we never went on the harvest. Dad always kept my brother and I busy at home, taking care of cattle and farming. And then during the school year, they were emphatic that we had to do well in school, and they were certainly of the mindset that school comes first.
Well, describe the house you grew up in.
The house was a wooden frame house. I guess you would call it a shotgun style. Of course, it had plaster walls. It had a furnace in the center or living room area of the house, and that's all of the heat we had. Of course, it was air conditioned by nature. Later on, they built on to the house over a porch area so that my brother and I had a bedroom. We had twin beds. No air conditioning or no heat in that bedroom ever. And my mother was a believer that we needed to have fresh air. So every night we slept with a window open. Sometimes snow was blowing in the window. But she would also warm some irons, some little flat irons that people used to iron with, wrap them in towels, and we'd have those at our feet in the cold weather.
Sneak up during the night and shut that window.
I was tempted to, but she checked every morning. No, it
Did it have indoor plumbing?
yes, it did. As a matter of fact, I know they put in the indoor plumbing after I was born, but I don't remember ever not having that. We had one bathroom, but I also had the outside toilet, and we kept it around too.
And
For years.
electricity came to the...
We had electricity all of the time. Now, Billy, my wife, didn't have electricity until what?
1948.
1948 down in southeastern Oklahoma. But we had electricity in Tacoma from the time I was born.
And Tacoma, how big of a town was it?
I think while I was growing up, around 300 population, and it's less than that now. There are no stores. The only thing we have is a co-op elevator.
And that was Alice County or Woods?
No, this is Woods County.
Woods County.
Yeah.
Okay. And they attach though, don't they?
No. You've got Woods, then Woodward, then Ellis,
Okay.
off to the southwest.
I need to learn my geography.
Yeah, we're probably 120 miles from Arnett.
Okay.
And my mother was raised down on the river southwest of Arnett, maybe 15 miles.
What, did Tacoma have a grocery store, movie theater?
We had, actually, when I was younger, we had 2 grocery stores, a cleaning shop. Of course, there was a pool hall, which I was not allowed to enter. We had a locker plant and meat market. Actually had 2 meat markets. Had 2 filling stations, and of course the co-op elevator. Co-op was a big deal. And the only thing that has grown in Tacoma is the number of churches. They had a Church of God and a EUB when I was younger, and then the EUB split into 2 different churches. So for a while we had 3 churches in Tacoma.
And 300 people.
Yeah. But anyway,
What's a locker plant?
that's where they processed meat, and then they kept it frozen in these little box-like things.
Individual families?
Individual families would rent locker space.
Okay.
And keep their meat in the locker. People didn't have freezers years ago. It was much more economical to keep them in the locker. Then electricity became so expensive that lockers became obsolete. And people started, if they wanted to have their own freshly butchered beef, they kept them in freezers at home, generally.
Well, would your mother make your clothes, or did you have store-bought?
When I was younger, both. I remember she used to make shirts, and I was not real happy with those shirts. Mom was not a good seamstress, and the shirts would be just like a stovepipe, straight up and down, and they didn't fit very well, and they were out of flour sacks. So I really enjoyed store-bought clothes.
Hopefully not floral. Flower
Sometimes, yes, sometimes the floral ones.
That was...
But I always had good clothes, jeans, and folks provided for us very well.
Did she quilt if she didn't sew?
She did not quilt, no. Mom worked constantly, cleaning, cooking, providing for all of us, and she actually quit teaching when my brother was born. She substituted some, but she quit teaching because she felt her place was in the home, taking care of the family.
They had a large garden and canned and all that.
Dad always had a large garden. We canned, and then we always bought chickens. Every year we had those little chickens and raised chickens and put up chickens in the locker. And that was part of my job when I was too young to drive a tractor, helping my mother dress chickens and get them ready for the locker. My brother couldn't do it. He couldn't stand it, so I always got to do that. Whatever Jim thought was too distasteful, I got to do. His younger brother.
Well, would you get an allowance for helping do all this?
We did eventually get an allowance. Usually that was because we would cut weeds or grass or something besides just the ordinary stuff. Special things, we'd get an allowance. And then later, when we were busy on the tractor and doing things, if we didn't get an allowance, we were given a share of a tract of land, the harvest from a tract of land. And that meant that we knew when there was a good harvest, we would get some good allowance, and when there was a poor harvest, we didn't get much. We learned early on.
And what would you do with the money you earned sometimes?
I was a saver, and my brother was a spender. So I would save it. I would buy a comic book about once a week. I like to collect comic books and read them. And then I would loan my brother money at interest. I guess I had the signs of becoming a banker even back when I was 10 and 12 years old.
And did he always pay up?
He always paid me. In fact, he had a friend that got in a financial bind one time, and he had a real nice Winchester Model 12 pump shotgun. And they came up to the house, and he wanted to sell the shotgun, and he wanted $40 for it. I gave him $25, and then sold it within 2 weeks and made about $20. So there again, I guess I was early on showing signs of becoming a banker.
And math already.
Yeah, oh yeah. Math was always my strong subject.
Well, if your mother was staying at home, was she a member of the Homemaker Club or demonstration?
She belonged to the Mount Zion Home Demonstration Club, and there was another one. And then she was active in the church. She was very active in the WCTU, Women Christian Temperance Legion or Union. She was an advocate of no smoking, no drinking, and I never did. In fact, I signed LTL, Loyal Temperance Legion Pledge, when I was a kid, and I never broke it.
Not even on campus when you were in college?
No, I had no problem. I never was much to follow peer pressure. Whether it was in grade school, high school, or college, it didn't make me any difference.
Well, what would the kids in the neighborhood do for fun?
Well, some of them partied on Saturday night. I didn't, but we played a lot of sports, both during the school year, and then we had summer baseball leagues, and I enjoyed that. And my dad tried to we'd quit working in the field early in time to come in and play some baseball games. So.
What were holidays like? Christmas, Thanksgiving, July 4th?
We generally had either family or some people who didn't have, some neighbors who didn't have any family come in for a dinner, exchange a few gifts, nothing like now. And it was a very festive time, plus the usual church activities that we always attended.
Any traditional foods your mother would fix?
My dad loved to hunt quail, and we did too, so we would try to have some wild game. either on Thanksgiving or Christmas or both. And she'd always have either a ham or a turkey plus quail or pheasant, whatever we had at the time. Usually it was quail, because that's what we liked the most.
And not chicken, because you had it other times.
No chicken, but although she would sometimes have chicken and noodles. That was her specialty. And she would make everything, the noodles by hand, and they were really delicious. When Johnny was in Harvard, one thing he asked was his grandma's chicken and noodle recipe. He wanted to make some chicken and noodles.
And so if someone in the family has the recipe.
I assume he still has it. I don't know.
We may have to share.
Okay. It was good.
So let's fast forward. When you finished high school, did you contemplate going to anywhere else besides where you went?
All the time I was in high school, it was understood by my parents I was going to OSU. I had no choice.
Why did you?
I had to go to OSU, and I had to major in engineering. I guess because my uncle Lyndon Richards, my mother's brother, had gone to OSU. He had played baseball, and he was a member of, I believe it was a Beta Theta Pi fraternity, and he loved his time at Stillwater. And he had become a very successful engineer, and they wanted me to follow in his footsteps. I didn't have any other choice. And they said, if you want to farm, you can always farm, but you need to take advantage of your opportunities. And I'd been a reasonably good student, and they just insisted that's what I was going to do, and so that's what I did, being an obedient child. Go ahead.
Now, tell her about how they took you to school.
How did you get?
Well, I was going steady with a local girl, and my parents were afraid, especially my mother, that I was getting too serious. So they took me to OSU, let me out. They said, we'll see you either Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I was on foot. So, and they meant what they said. So I had to bum rides from some of my friends over there. And my roommate had a car. And everywhere I wanted to go, I had to find a ride. But it didn't hurt.
Did you come back before Thanksgiving?
No, my girlfriend and her parents came over there.
Did you ever hitchhike?
No, I never tried that. No. And I really had to work hard. Nobody will ever comprehend how many hours I studied trying to catch up. In fact, I had to take the first math course. It was considered remedial algebra, and it was a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning class, 7:30 in the morning. Saturday, yeah, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And engineering chemistry, engineering physics. I never had either in high school. They had one story that was interesting is they had an old chemistry lab in Quonset buildings close to Cordell Hall. They're not there any longer. And the head of the chemistry lab was a lady by the name of Miss Lippert. She's probably 6'2" and weighed well over 300 pounds. And I couldn't even read my class schedule. It shows you how green I was. And I got to her lab the first day about 15 minutes late. And they'd already met and dismissed. And I walked in and she said, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Bill Buckles." "Where you been, Buckles? You're late." I said, "Well, I'm sorry. I couldn't tell exactly where this was, and I'm not familiar with the campus," which was true. She said, "You think you can waltz in here and grin and be friendly just like Wes Watkins and get anything you want?" And of course, I knew who Wes Watkins was because he was president of our state FFA chapter. I said, "No, ma'am, I just didn't know." She said, "Well, here's the periodic chart. You have it memorized by the next meeting and be here." And I had that thing memorized. I had no idea what those chemicals were or what a valence meant, but I understood. I had them all memorized. And that's kind of the way the first year or two went. I memorized a lot.
Well, they're getting ready to tear down Cordell Hall.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I lived the
I was
first
gonna
2
say,
years.
where did you live?
167 Cordell Hall.
Okay.
Yeah, the first 2 years. Fella from Carmen. He'd been superintendent of schools and then ran an elevator at Carmen. I think he'd been superintendent, maybe just principal. By the name of Don Rogers was the dorm supervisor, and his wife was a nurse, and they were great people. And they knew me and kind of looked after me.
Did you have to work while you were in school?
I didn't. I was very fortunate. I was able to work on the farm for very little, but my parents funded my education. I tried for scholarships, but they weren't, if they were available back then, I didn't know about it. And I was fortunate that my folks had enough income that I wouldn't have qualified for what was available back then. But
Do much of your studying in the library?
very little. I spent most of my time studying either in my room or in the lobby of Cordell Hall. Because they had a television set in the lobby. I did some in the library, had to do some research in the library. But I was taking mostly math and science courses. I did have freshman composition. The only B I made as a freshman was in composition the first semester. So there went my 4-point. And then I didn't get along real well with psychology teachers. I mentioned to one of them one time, it's a theoretical science. And that didn't go over very well. But anyway, I did okay.
Well, when you weren't studying, what were you involved in any activities on campus?
Yes, mostly honorary fraternities. I was invited to a lot of fraternities because they wanted someone with a good grade point to help the average, but I didn't join a fraternity. I was not inclined to drink or party, and a very serious student. So I joined Alpha Zeta. Phi Eta Sigma was an honorary freshman fraternity scholarship. ODK, later years. And I guess that's about it. There are about 3 of them that I joined.
Would you attend sporting events?
Oh yes, I loved wrestling, football, basketball. I attended all of them I could. And I especially loved the wrestling matches.
So you have some memories of
Oh,
Alva?
I have real fond memories of the wrestling matches. And it was probably the highlight of my college experience. The lowest point was, I think my sophomore year, I was taking the second course of physics, engineering physics. I had a professor by the name of Berg, and he believed in the honor system. So he'd leave the room, and then all the books would come out and the crib sheets and so forth, and that was against all my beliefs, and I really struggled with that. But eventually he had to change. He had too many complaints. That was kind of a low point in my career, because I just felt like he was not a quality instructor and he wasn't doing right.
What did you stay in engineer major? Or?
I was in engineering for about 3 years and got engaged. And like I said, all I wanted to do was come home and farm, and I decided that it would be better if I could teach and farm too. So I switched to education, and I already had most of my math and science. I had to take all of the education courses. And then later, my fiance was a year behind me, and she was going to teach. She was elementary. I was in graduate school, in the School of Mathematics, taught as I recall, I taught 12 hours and took 12 hours on my graduate courses.
Busy.
Yeah, I was terribly busy. And they paid me. I got $250, as I recall, $250 a semester. No, it might have been a month.
That broke the bank.
Anyway, it was more than I'd had in before, and it was $250 per some kind of period, and I can't remember for sure which it was. But at the time I was teaching, I was in the classroom building, and most of the kids would sit and watch them tear down the old school or the old building across the street where we'd had our speech lessons before, next to the student union.
Okay.
Can't remember what that building was called, but a lot of demolition going on, and they didn't listen to me.
You were in ROTC.
Yeah, I was really, thank you, I forgot about that. I was really into ROTC, Army ROTC. And I was the outstanding cadet my freshman and sophomore years. I was scheduled to go into advanced, and I got my eye hurt. And when I went down for my physical, they said, you really can't do what you want to do. Now we can put you in the engineering corps or the missile program or something like that, but we can't put you as a field commander or anything. And so I decided I didn't want to do that. As a matter of fact, that summer I had several visits from people with the missile program, and I don't know whether it was from the Air Force or the Army. I never met with them. They'd come to the house and talk to my mother, and she said, well, he's out on the tractor. And I said, well, we would like to have him join our program. You know, he's got a lot of math and engineering courses, and he has this aptitude because of his ROTC performance. We'd like to have him in our program, but I never did join that.
So you had some classes in the armory?
Yes, all of our ROTC classes were in the armory, and yeah, and I was a sharpshooter. I liked shooting the rifles. I enjoyed all that. You know, a country kid can do all that without any training.
If you can do quail, you can do that.
Yeah, if you can shoot quail on the move, you can, well, it's a little different, but yeah, I came home one year and they had a trap shoot down a little community close to us, and I won a hand for Christmas, shooting the rifle. Took my dad's rifle and won a hand.
Well, at that time, I guess gym was required, or physical education classes were required, part of OSU?
I didn't have any phys ed.
You didn't have any?
Yeah. I had, except for engineering and math and science, the only other courses I had 5 hours of English composition, and I had the social studies, and I had humanities. That's the only thing I recall that was required, besides math and science. I had in my graduate program, I had advanced calculus under Dr. Agnew, and she was an outstanding instructor. Either you made an A and a B or you dropped out. We had a lot of people auditing at the end of the semester. And I can't remember any of the others' names, but she sticks out as being one of the best.
So you were there 59 through
64,
64.
5 years.
So the student union and the library both were pretty new
Yes, they were.
at that point.
Yes, they were. The library had been added on to and remodeled, but the student union had dramatically changed during that time.
Had a bowling alley in it then.
You bet, we'd go bowl. Of course, I started doing that when I was in 4-H. Little kid in 4-H in high school, or grade school actually. And Billy also attended 4-H there at OSU.
Roundup?
Yeah, the Roundup. Mm-hmm.
So you'd already been to campus before you
I'd been to campus.
got dropped off?
My first trip to OSU was when I was 12 in 4-H. Yeah.
What sticks out from that?
The bowling alley. I'd never seen one before.
Okay.
I loved it. And
Theta Pine?
I don't think that made an impression. The beautiful buildings made an impression. But I just know that I never discussed going anywhere except Stillwater with my parents, ever. They just decided early on that's where I was going, and that's what I did.
Primarily for engineering.
Yes, primarily for the engineering.
Would they come over and visit and go to a game or anything with you?
No, my folks were older. My dad, let's see, 41. I think he was 36, and my mother was 39 when I was born. So they were older parents.
Well, they did come to graduation.
Oh yes, they were at graduation, you bet. And they may have come over once or twice for some kind of an honors assembly. But that's all I recall. Dad didn't have very much extra help when we weren't there. And he was taking care of cattle all the time and farming. And was just very busy.
Couldn't venture too far.
No, he couldn't. We had registered polled Hereford cattle all the time when I was growing up, and I enjoyed working with those. We showed them and then would sell them at sales, various sales around. And Dad's herd was pretty well noted all over the United States. And even when I was in school at OSU, I would sometimes go on weekends and get the cattle ready, get them trimmed up, and then go back to school on Monday, and he'd show them and sell them.
Well, how would you get back and forth to do that?
At that time, I had a car at that time.
By then.
Yeah, I had a car after that. I think I got a car maybe my junior year, started my junior year.
You might tell her about how all the land that was homesteaded is still.
The Buckles land in Alfalfa County is still owned by the family jointly. The quarter that my grandmother homesteaded is intact. The quarter where my great-grandmother homesteaded is there. The relinquishment that my grandmother and grandfather bought to live on is still in the family, and then another place that they bought next to it. I will tell you that during the Depression, they had it heavily mortgaged, and it was being foreclosed. And my dad saw or heard that FDR had a new program to help save the farmers, and he was making direct loans from the federal government. Dad contacted whatever phone number was given, and they got a hold of the banker who was foreclosing the Buckles land and told him to stop, and they provided a loan, and that enabled them to survive and keep that land. My granddad had also paid half down on a quarter close to the Ashley elevator, and he had bought a quarter down by Tacoma where we were raised, and he lost both of those. My dad picked up the one and bought it, and we still have that. In fact, my family has that today. And the other quarter was lost. He lost his half down, and somebody else owns it.
We still managed to keep the bulk.
Yeah, we can, thanks to FDR, they were able to keep it. Yes.
Are there any of them a Centennial?
Yes, that farm. Yes, the farm where my grandparents lived is designated the Oklahoma Centennial Farm.
Okay.
I've got the sign somewhere.
But Ellis County.
In Ellis County, we no longer own the surface. My cousins decided several years ago they wanted to sell it, and because it was going to be difficult for my brother and I to manage it, we agreed to sell the surface. We both regretted it after that. It was a bad mistake. But the surface is gone. We still have the minerals, and it's producing minerals.
I noticed a lot around through here.
Yeah, well,
It's big.
yes, there's been a lot of oil and gas income in this area. It's down now because of the price. And the activity is much less because a lot of it is drilled up in the Mississippi line. And probably won't be much further development for a while because of the huge quantities of salt water that have to be disposed of with those wells. And we also have the earthquakes to contend
I
with.
was going to say, have you shook much here?
Yeah, we've shaken a lot. I think the curtailment in the injection wells has helped some.
I haven't noticed any lately, or not as many lately.
You don't notice it as much. We haven't had the large ones. We had two that were almost 4.5 to 5, and those really shook things. Caused some damage. Haven't noticed any damage in this house, but a lot of people say that they've had some cracks in their walls.
It's scary.
Yes, it is. It's real concerning, and we need the oil and gas, and goodness knows the people who invested in it need to get the income, but we can't jeopardize people's property either. We have to be prudent with it, and I think the commission is being very prudent in their approach.
Sure.
I think they're doing the right thing.
So graduation day, do you have any memories from that particular day?
Took a long time is all I remember.
Or was the ceremony?
As I recall, our ceremony was in the football stadium.
Outside.
Outside, yeah.
And your parents came?
Yes, my parents came.
And then you stayed around to do a master's, or just part of it, get started
Yes,
on the master's?
yes, I did. I stayed another year while my wife finished her bachelor's. Worked on a master's. I didn't complete the master's. And I taught school in Great Bend, Kansas, 2 years, and coached baseball. I could get $3,800 a year salary, starting salary in Oklahoma, being a math teacher. And in Great Bend, I got $4,800 plus another $1,000 for coaching. So, and it was only maybe 120 miles north, so I could come home on weekends and farm. And that's what we did for 2 years. I didn't care for teaching, and my dad said there was an opportunity for us if I wanted to come back, and we were doing pretty well with the registered cattle, and he needed me for that because he was not inclined to trim those calves and get them broke the lead and all of those things. He didn't enjoy that. So I came back, and we built a house down in Tacoma. Got my first loan from Central National Bank of Alva. And we had a production sale then about a year later, and had a great production sale. We sold into 7 different states. Wow. And the chairman of the board sent her brother down, and one of the officers that I borrowed the money from to build our house to attend the sale. And I guess they were impressed because she sent word she wanted to talk to me. The chairman of the board and the CEO of the bank. And when Gertrude said she wanted to talk to you, you went up and talked to her. She asked me if I'd ever thought about becoming a banker, and I said, no, I really haven't. And she had me bring my transcript, and I was real proud of that transcript. And she looked at it, and she said, well, those are real good grades, but you didn't take anything you could use. And it was that way the rest of my career with her. But anyway, she offered me a job, and I said, well, I'd like to go talk to my dad, but we've got to, it was in the summer, we've got to sow wheat, we've got to do some things. I'll have to do some things to get ready if I'm going to be gone part of the time from the farm. And he said, well, just like he did when I was going to school, you can always farm, but if you want to try this, go ahead. And it was just a fit for me. It was fun. I got involved in securities and different kinds of investments for the bank. We were a very conservative bank, and a lot of our depositors' money was invested in securities, and I got to do that. Gertrude showed me her philosophy and sent me to all kinds of seminars, and I learned a lot. Learned a lot about oil and gas, because we didn't have any attorneys in our town that were very familiar with oil and gas laws, and so I joined the National Association of Royalty Owners and went to their seminars and learned a lot about oil and gas and royalty. And in 1983, I decided I wanted to be president of a bank somewhere, whether it was Alva or wherever it was. So I asked Gertrude permission to have time off to go to a banking school somewhere, either Rutgers or Madison, Wisconsin was probably one of the best. And she said, well, I think that's okay. I'll let you off, but I had to pay my own way. So I paid all of the airfare, I paid my own tuition, I paid for everything myself. And I told myself, yeah, you're going to pay me now or you're going to pay me later. Not knowing for sure, but anyway, that opened up a whole new world too. I learned a lot in banking school, met a lot of people from all over the United States. And of course I was somewhat of a celebrity because I was from Oklahoma and Penn Square had happened. And nobody wanted to know anything about me, they just wanted to know about Penn Square. And about all I knew is I'd read the book Belly Up, and I knew the names of the banks where Penn Square was doing business. And little did I know that some 20-some years later, I would marry a vice president from Penn Square. And she could fill in the details. But anyway, I did learn a lot in banking school. I was offered some really good jobs that would more than double my salary that I was receiving at Central National and Alva, but I'd have to give up my farming and my old Hereford cattle, and I just wasn't willing to do that because my whole life was land and agriculture. So graduated from University of Wisconsin Graduate School of Banking in 1986, and that same year the chairman's brother, who was president of the bank, passed away suddenly, and they made me president. And I'm sure it's because I was prepared and felt very confident that I could do it, and it all worked out. Later, I signed a contract, long-term contract, and stock option with the CEO that bound me for the rest of my career with that bank. And I exercised that option, and the rest is history. I no longer have an interest in the bank. I sold my interest to Tom Ward.
And you retired when?
I retired in 2007.
So with
Almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago.
with over 30 years or close to 40.
39 years
Close to
in
40.
banking, yeah. Part of that time, I was, because of the farming and because of my dad's health, I was going in at noon and leaving whenever. So I guess you would say I wasn't full-time, although I was probably putting in 40 hours. It was a little different structure. But I maintained the same title and the same responsibilities or more, even though I was arriving at noon. That gave me time to, if we had some help driving tractors or taking care of cattle, it gave me some time to get things done in the morning before I went to work.
Before it got really hot.
Yeah, that too, that too.
Well, in the 80s, the agriculture wasn't doing too well, or the banking, so that was a double.
That's true.
Challenging.
We really didn't suffer like some of them. We had some years that were not as good as others, but we didn't suffer the huge losses that closed some of the banks because our management was extremely conservative. And we were 30% capitalized. You know, we had 100 million in assets and probably had 30 million in capital, which was, well, one of the economists at OSU used to point us out as how not to run a bank, not utilizing the capital properly. But we slept at night too, and we didn't lose the bank. I was able to expand somewhat. After I became CEO, we bought Woodward. We bought the old Bank of Woodward, and that was a great move for the bank because I already had a lot of acquaintances out there, and it gave us a whole new area. And since I've left, they've changed their name to Bank Central so that it wouldn't be confusing with Central National of Enid. And they've added two more, well actually three more branches. They added Enid and Harper and Anthony. So, and the fellow that succeeded me is also an OSU graduate, Kyle Hubanks. So
Keep it in the family.
we got it, yeah, kept it in the family.
Well, Alva's probably changed a lot in those times, that 40-year period too.
Well, it changed a lot in the last 6 or 7 years because of the oil boom. We struggled getting new motels or anything new for years and years, and then all of a sudden there was a huge shortage of housing. We have 3 new motels. We have numerous oil-related businesses, although some I understand are getting ready to close. The land prices have gone extremely high. Minerals jumped in price, although the last year or so I understand they've rocked back quite a bit. I've seen quarter sections of land sell 10 years ago where the oil lease itself, the bonus, paid for the quarter section. Just an oil and gas lease bonus. So that's what happened during the boom. And people have to adjust again because those days are going to be gone for a while. But it's just like around Stillwater, you know, you have to deal with all of the adverse impact of that activity as well. We all have to live together. And you can't prohibit it because you're taking away someone's valuable resource under the ground. And unless you compensate them for that, you can't do it legally. So all of those issues have come up.
What a good time to retire.
I tell you what, it was the best move I ever made.
You might mention your Royalty Owners Association.
Yes, I've been active in the National Association of Royalty Owners since 1986. And I now serve on the board of directors of NARO, Oklahoma NARO.
30 years, okay.
Yeah.
So you're not really retired.
No,
Semi-retired.
I take care of numerous trusts, LLCs. Billy and I have a foundation, and have plenty. I'm active in the Methodist Church and lay leader, and that requires that. If I remember, I attend all of the committee meetings. I didn't remember the one last night. I was thinking about your meeting today, I guess. But anyway, we're very busy.
Are you connected with OSU in any way now?
Yes, I am a member of the Board of Governors, starting my 2nd term. And Billy and I have done quite a few scholarship contributions, and also we contributed to a professorship. which is a matter of record at the foundation. You can check on all that if you want to.
Sure.
Yeah, quite a bit of our money lately has gone to OSU.
How often do you go back to campus?
Whenever they had a Board of Governors meeting, we go, I think we're gonna go in April. The School of Education is going to honor their scholarship recipients, and we have a deal that shows we're invited to that. We'll meet some of the people who have received our scholarship this year.
Future teachers?
Yes, actually most of them are doctorate candidates,
Okay.
believe it or not. I don't know how that happened. Our scholarship was originally set up to help those from southeastern Oklahoma and northwestern Oklahoma who didn't have the funds to attend. But anyway, it's okay.
Well, we should back up and say how you two met.
You want me to tell it or you want to?
See if he gets it right.
I'll tell it. We decided in the early 90s, we being Gertrude Myers, chairman of the bank and CEO, and me being president, we decided we needed to have some sort of an alternative investment program besides just certificates and deposit and savings accounts for customers who wanted to invest in securities or stock. We didn't have that. We had an Edward Jones that was competitive here, and some other brokerages that were invading our area. So I took the trust officer at the time to a seminar that was being held by the Oklahoma Bankers Association in Oklahoma City. And Billy was one of the participants from the Oklahoma Bankers Association. She worked for the OBA at that time. She had been a banker, different places, and was at Penn Square when it failed, and so she was pretty knowledgeable. Anyway, we listened to their program and decided it might be something that we wanted to do, and that we'd like for the Oklahoma Bankers Association to bring their investment guru to Alva to present a program for Gertrude, the chairman, to hear. And so I called back and to talk to her, and she thought it was somebody from Central National of Enid. She didn't even know about Central National of Alva, I don't think. And she was excited and then kind of disappointed when she heard it was me from Alva. But anyway, we set up a program, and she came out with their investment advisor, Art Stockton, with Stockton Capital Management, and they presented a program for Gertrude and the trust department and for me in our bank. And I'll let her tell the rest of the story. It all depended on her.
But this is very personal. But as I sat there at the table, I had been a single banker for 13 years. And as I sat there at the table and we talked around it, I looked at Bill and I thought, he's my type of guy, but I'm sure he's married. And so I had to go out to my car to get a document that needed signed. And on my way out, as I walked through the loan department, I said a prayer. That God, if He wanted me to be single, that I would be content with my situation. But if there was someone I could love and that could love me in return, that would happen. We went on with our meeting, and that night he took this young man and me to dinner, and Bill did. And as we sat there, he informed us that he was getting a divorce. And I thought I should not talk at all because I was already interested in this man. So a year went by. I came up here several times on business, working with clients. And after a year, we'd talked several times about personal things, but not seriously. And a year later, he asked me for a date in Oklahoma City. He was going to be getting his car worked serviced. We went on the date, and 1 year from that date, we were married.
There you go.
And
What year would that have been? 19?
It was 93 we got married.
Got married in 93.
May 1st. It's coming up.
Coming up.
I'll tell you how that happened.
Oh, it was a funny story.
We were sitting, every evening we would have our officers meeting, go over the loans. And, our chairman loved to get all of the officers in there and have this meeting about 4:30, mainly to keep us there. And we'd go through the loans, review all the documentation and security instruments and so forth. And everybody was just antsy. One night evening she said, well, we need to talk about Bill and Billy's wedding, because we'd been engaged for quite a while. Okay. Well, let's see now. We had an examination here about 3 months ago. We probably won't have examiners for several months. Harvest is going to be around June 1st to middle of June, so we've got to stay away from that. How about May 1st? Now, this is the chairman of the board. This lady had never been married, by the way. And I said, well, that's fine with me, Gertrude. I'll call Billy. So I called her, she said, that's okay with me, and so Gertrude set our wedding date. She was quite a lady, brilliant lady.
And never married?
Never married.
And
Never married. She lived with her old maid sister too.
The bank had been in their family since the
Her
beginning?
dad bought into the bank before she was born. She was from a second wife. The story has it that Mr. Myers, her daddy, came here from Kansas and bought into the bank and then later bought out control. And his wife died. He had 2 daughters. And he married the housekeeper. And had all these other kids, Gertrude and Evelyn and Dub and John and Lou. And Gertrude got the brains. The rest of them, not so much. But she was a sharp cookie. She had an MBA from OU, straight A's. Very brilliant lady.
Didn't bother her hiring an OSU grad being from OU?
No, she wanted to hire somebody who had ties here who wouldn't leave her.
Loyalty.
She said, I run the biggest business school in Oklahoma besides Northwestern. Everybody she'd hired that had good credentials and background that person was not from here, they'd leave her in no time. And you know, we all have opportunities because she was a good teacher. It was a very successful
She
operation.
also didn't.
She didn't pay very well either. But that's another reason she wanted people with local farming ties. You'd have to supplement your income. But she was very supportive of me, and
Was it typical for them to do a long-term commitment like
I was the
that?
only one. No, I was the only one that did. I'm the only non-family member outside of a lawyer that got it through representing a divorce. He turned 1 share into over $1 million. 1 share from a divorce settlement. But I was the only one that ever owned stock outside the family. And she valued what I did.
Speaks to your character too. So.
Well, she told one of the heirs that protested it that, why are you so hoggish? Bill is responsible for at least half of the capital in this bank. He's earned at least half of it himself. So she recognized, and it was a way of rewarding me for being loyal and do the best I could for the bank, and I did.
Well,
So she made up for it.
Sounds like you were loyal to OSU and the county and to your job.
He's a
I've tried to be. Some things you can't control, and circumstances can be beyond your control. And we're seeing that in in the foundation at OSU right now. Some people are not able to fulfill their commitments financially. And some people might have plans to do things, and all of this downturn has changed those plans. It's just a lot of success or failure is based on timing. And my success in selling my interest in the bank for a really good price was just the timing. Wouldn't bring half today what it did 8 years ago. Not half. So that's just the way it runs. But I didn't want to continue in an ownership position where I wasn't in control. And I wouldn't have been in control having retired as CEO. I wouldn't have controlled it. And I just wasn't comfortable with that.
Well, some people will be curious too, is why get involved with OSU then at this stage of the game?
Education is extremely important to both Billy and to me. That's probably the most important thing that helped Billy and helped me change my circumstances. Gertrude wouldn't have given me the time of day had she not read some of those articles about my scholastic success or the ROTC awards. She saw those, and she mentioned them. And I think she wouldn't have paid me a bit of notice had she not done that. Of course, it didn't hurt to have the parents I had too.
Sure.
She knew that. But Billy put herself through the Graduate School of Banking at the University of Colorado without a college education. And that took some doing. Those even though they're what you would call graduate schools, they're not easy. It's not like a formal graduate school and a college, but they're very intense, and you get a lot of information in those things. And for example, at Madison, I attended with people who were accountants, CPAs, lawyers, and they agree that it was just as intense as some of their courses in law school or accounting. So imagine what she faced not having any preparation other than she had a lot of experience in a bank.
And there probably weren't very many women in the program, I wouldn't think.
That was let's see, mine was in 72, 3, and 4, I believe. We had 7 members out of 150 women, 7 women.
Wow, that's...
And only about 5 of us, or maybe 4, graduated. So, and very few officers, but however you had to be an officer to be accepted at a university.
That's great.
But yes, education is important to both of us. Everything we do in the way of contributions is a joint decision. It's all half hers, so she has to agree, and we're in agreement that education is probably one of the most important things, that and our pay, that we can do.
It doesn't necessarily have to be OSU, just education in general.
Well, we contribute to Northwestern because of where we are. And she also contributes to Murray State because it's close to where she was raised. And Murray State has entirely different financial circumstances and opportunities than...
Well, it's a junior college.
It's a junior college, but also they don't have the same financial deep pockets down there that we have in this area.
Well, Murray State is in Johnston County, Oklahoma, and as I understand it, and something that I've read recently, Johnston County is the poorest county in the state.
Southeast, southwest, southeast. Okay.
North of Durant.
Near Tishomingo.
Yeah.
In Tishmigo.
Yeah, our estate's in Tishmingo.
So do you have a few things in your closets that are orange? Was you orange? A few?
Absolutely.
A few?
Yeah. We've got t-shirts, and Billy's got some clothes that she can wear to ball games
You
that are orange.
Oh, did we, in our closet?
Yeah.
Closet, yes.
Okay, yes, there's some orange.
Yeah.
Not many, but,
Yeah, at least one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Necktie.
yeah, a couple of neckties.
Yeah. I will tell you, I did not enjoy going to school at OSU. I worked day and night studying. It was not a pleasant experience.
But that would have been anywhere.
Yeah, it would have been anywhere. I had it in my mind that if I could make straight A's or almost straight A's, that somehow, somewhere, someone was going to give me a big job and a good salary, and it'd pay off. And that was the way I was going to improve my lot in life. Probably the most naive person in the world, but that's what I thought.
Well, that was your motivation.
That was
too.
my motivation, and I was very motivated. And I also would tell some of the people with whom I associated that you may be smarter than I am, but I can work twice as hard as you can. And I did.
Well, it wasn't that OSU was bad necessarily. It's just
No, they were great.
that-
It was a wonderful opportunity. It's just that I didn't take advantage of everything that I should have. Although I did enjoy football games and
that
wrestling and occasionally a baseball game. But most of the time
But you got a superb education.
I got a great education.
And all A's but one?
No, I made some B's in psychology.
Not just your
I
conversation?
think I ended up with my master's program and all 3.95.
That's nothing to sneeze at.
Well, it's not terrible. My son though graduated there with a 4.0 in accounting.
So how many children do you have?
Have a boy and a girl. Johnny is professor of law at the University of Houston Law School. Tammy is a stay-at-home mom, has 2 daughters. She's taking care of them in Dallas.
And he went to OSU, did
She went to OSU. She actually graduated from Northwestern, and she has a master's from Cameron in behavioral science.
So they had a choice whether they went to OSU or not?
Yes, they did. And part of the reason I will tell you that Tammy went to Cameron was she was not accepted in a master's program at OSU. And I don't know exactly why, because she had good grades. But she wasn't, so that's what happened. And that was a sore point for a while.
I can imagine.
They told her they wanted to be less provincial, and they had a number of foreign students who got master's programs there. I don't know whether that was a push or that was just what Tammy told me, but anyway, she was not accepted. My ex-wife got her doctorate at OSU in education. So I have a long history of OSU graduates.
Grandkids headed?
Yes, Billy's grandson got his degrees at OSU. Let's see, who else? Of course, my brother did graduate work at OSU through Northwestern in his master's in administration education. That's about it. Anyway, we have quite a history at OSU.
Or do you come back for homecoming?
Haven't been back to homecoming in 30 years.
But we love the times when we come. We really do.
We really enjoy
it.
And people are so nice to us. They really are. The people in the education department are great. Burns Hargis acts like he knows us. I don't know whether he does or not, but of course, been around quite a while, so probably do.
He's always personable.
He's
too,
very
no matter who
personable.
It is.
Yeah.
Dr.
And
Dr. Davis.
Robert Davis is really nice to us. He was acting dean. He may be again, I don't know. Have they got a new dean of education, do you know?
I'm not sure.
I'm not either. Cece, she was very nice. I think that she
Sissy.
wanted, Sissy wanted to get back closer to home, I think.
Well, there's something about OSU that makes people loyal. Do you have any input on what you think?
Yes, I
about it?
do, and I see it more now since I'm not studying 20 hours a day. People are friendly. They're accepting no matter what your lot in life. They don't look down on you if you're not the rich kid on the block or you come from a prosperous area. There's a lot of people who come from farm areas and rural areas that are just like you. And they have backgrounds just like yours. And I think that's important. And I know that my mother had a real bias against OU and told me she wanted very much to be part of the sorority scene when she went down there, and she was not accepted. And that's probably part of the reason it was understood I would go to OSU.
A good thing in the end.
But I think it's because of just the friendliness of the university.
And that comes through so much. Well, my granddaughter wanted to be a nurse, and her mother was suffering cancer when they went down to look at OSU, and that the education department, Dr. Davis, arranged for like a golf cart type thing to take them from place to place and show the campus. Their understanding, and my daughter-in-law says that regardless of where they went on campus, people said hello. If they asked where something was, the student, if it was a student, would not just drop what they were doing and take them there. They didn't say, it's that building over there. So even my children that have University of Texas degrees really think Stillwater is special.
And I think, without a doubt, Burns Hargis has made a big difference in the university. And I hope if he ever retires, we get somebody who can carry on.
I hope he doesn't, but I know he will. I mean, he's
Getting
close.
I believe that from the last 2 board of governors meetings, he's thinking about it.
Yeah, I think probably a couple of more years. Maybe.
Yeah, I think he'd like to get a mansion built before he left.
Get that business building finished.
Yeah. I really think he'd like to get a new house for a new president.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was on, still being discussed.
Well, we haven't heard lately, but it may be a bad time to do it too. Because a lot of the oil money's dried up.
There's a lot of building going on, and
It's unbelievable.
we came in '96, and since then it's.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
changed a lot in those 20 years.
You've been there a long time. Last time we were in Stillwater, we attended a city council meeting in behalf of NARO and listened to some pretty upset citizens. And of course, I'm on the other side. But I can understand that if this house had an oil rig out here 100 yards, I wouldn't like it. And as a matter of fact, I have fought a couple of battles since I bought this property to prevent a well from being drilled in here. And fortunately, we were able to get Chesapeake to move the well locations. So I understand. But to prevent it altogether, I don't understand that. And I certainly would hate to live in this world without oil and gas.
Well, compromise is a good thing sometimes.
I think it is, but we can't produce all the electricity we want with windmills and solar panels.
True.
No way. And I don't want this place covered up with solar panels and windmills.
Well, they're popping up everywhere.
They are.
Almost a lot coming for this drive.
You bet, and there's a lot more planned.
Really?
Yes, there's one in southern Wood County. It goes from about Cleo Springs. They're out here west of Alva. Huge program planned. They're
Any on
signing
your
this.
property?
No, and there won't be.
Unless
Just
it
by
becomes a
choice.
law or something.
Well, I mean, as long as I control
Yeah, as long
things,
as
I
you can
can't
say
say.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as I can say no. No, I don't intend to have any. I'd rather have an oil well. Okay, anything else?
Anything else you want to add
Oh,
before we
I
close?
appreciate you taking the time to come up and talk to us.